Out. This is all because we want to have recording. So basically, this is our class in so it's in emergent communication, and like I know it's like a very general topic, but this year I decided to make it a little bit more interesting and also more engaged. And because the class is about networks, we are talking about networks, all sorts of networks, and so far we've talked about networks of like digital networks. We talked about how networks are very complex, and one special focus of this class is the networks, like the networks that we create and that are created by food. And so far, we've done a lot of things like cultivating mushrooms and adding mushrooms to an installation that local artists made for us, and now is growing as we speak. And I hope that you guys have visited it in the last few days. It's really growing some gigantic oyster mushrooms, and it's a little bit of a symbol of all things networked, because mushrooms are a symbol of like when mushrooms have a very intricate network they are connected to. They are connected to the soil, they are connected to the land, but they are also connected with each other. And we looked at these networks through the microscope. We made a connection with the digital networks, but then now we are also looking at human networks and are linked to the land. And there's a lot of questions about this, and so we have invited two people to talk about the future of food. And now we are dealing with the here and now, and we invited artists and activists who are working with food and with the communities that are surrounding food or that are growing our food, as a way to make things very much real, and to understand the complexity. So it's not just us and the food, and we take the food and we ingest it, but there's a whole big network of people, and networks of solidarity, and network of instruments, and so on and so forth, that has to do with our food. And there's also labor involved that is actually very, very important. I'm so happy that Sanghan is here, because I think on Thursday we were talking about how it is important that people know the type of work that is behind who makes our food, and also the dangers that are involved. So anyway, so as a preliminary to this encounter, I asked my students to bring a food item and to do a little bit of research to tell us where the food is coming from. So I would like my students to say something about what they found, and I also brought something, so I can start myself, and then we're gonna go around and ask the students to tell us something about what they found. So in my case, so these are my my herbs that I grow in my vase outside in my balcony. As I was telling my students, there's not so much that grows there. And so I grew this, but because of my background, I actually decided to grow items that are not particularly native to Canada. So there's rosemary and there's sage. And I was telling them that this is not the sage that we find native to Canada. This is what they call culinary sage, I think. Please, Claire, correct us if we are wrong. but it's the sage that basically is coming from Europe, and that we plant in our gardens to make food afterward. So who wants to go next? I have on my left, immediately on my left, I have George. Do you want to say what you found and where it comes from?
Sure. So my food object is I brought a pack of blueberries that I bought at Costco. They're not from Canada. They were grown in Barranca, Peru. They're from a very large farm. It's over 2,000 acres, and it uses like special irrigation equipment, and it's not even picked by hand. I think it's picked by machines. So it's been shipped all the way from Peru to Toronto, and that's how I got my hands on them.
Yeah. Jules?
Yeah, so I actually have a turmeric latte. So because of that, I did my research on like the actual turmeric root, and I found that normally it originates from tropical climate areas like India, Indonesia, or other similar regions. Um, and getting it from the farmer directly is actually very rare. I think it based on my research, there's like several intermediaries, wholesalers, distributors. But like generally it seems like it's uncommon to acquire it like in Toronto, I think. And yeah, that's what I have for turmeric.
Yeah, thank you. So next to me, I have, let's see, I have Martin.
Yes, hi. So I bought black pepper from Cambodia. It's from like a Kampot. It's a specific place where they grow pepper, and I bought it in France. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mm. The next one is Lavania.
Yeah, so I don't have it on me. It's in the fridge, but I wanted to talk about eggplants, because that's something we eat a lot at home. When you said like where it's from, I thought you meant like where it initially originated from. So I did my research and like it says that it was from India and China until like the Europeans went and they got their hands on it and then they distributed it around everywhere and got the seeds and planted them. I'm not sure where the ones that I have right now are from. Like they're from the supermarket, but I'm not sure where exactly they got it from. But over the summer, our family friends like planted their own eggplants, like all like different varieties of them. And so we got it directly from them. So it was like they had the seeds, they planted it, and then it came to us. So there wasn't much, you know, many hands that it touched before it got to us. But yeah, the ones that I have right now, I don't really know exactly where they're from.
Well, that's interesting, though. Thank you so much. Then I have Alexandra next to me.
Okay. I have kiwis that were from the supermarket. We kind of talked about it before. But they say on them that they were produced in Greece, and then packaged in Mississauga. I also, since a few minutes ago, Googled like there's like a company on it, and I Googled it and it said it's a company, like a fruit company in Italy. So now I'm a little unsure because it said it's from Greece. But I feel like that might be quite common with supermarket fruits where they kind of just have a whole bunch of logos on them and it's hard to tell exactly where they originated from.
Yeah, you're very right, actually. Yeah. So the next one that I have here is Yara.
Hello everyone. I chose to talk about the avocado. So I bought this avocado from Metro, and it's from Frutas Fias Divales brand. And this brand is from Mexico. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. I think that the next one is I think we have most who hasn't spoken. Luke, have you spoken?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my laptop doesn't have a camera, so I
No, but
can't
that's
show it.
okay.
But I brought like a Mr. Noodles instant noodle. Those are like the noodles you can put into boiling water and then they get pretty good after 1 or 2 minutes. And those noodles, they are imported by Anderson Watts Limited Company. And they are actually produced in China. Now, I didn't really find out which company it produces. That's probably because they don't want to be too transparent, I guess. Yeah, because like many companies in China have some problems with ethics and stuff. So I guess maybe that's why they kind of try to shadow it. But I'm pretty sure that like the most of the process is done by machines nowadays. I kind of watched how those instant noodles are produced. There is like a little documentary. It's very interesting, and it's actually I think there is not a single step where people are involved. So it's 100%, or at least like in newer factories, it's 100% produced by machines, also packed by machines. And then you have like the people in the logistics, of course. But like probably it's nothing really handmade. So there will be like thousands of people that are involved in the process. But I can't say like how many hands it changed until it is here. Probably not too much because it's all like done by machines, but the people that are involved in shipping this product to the place where I bought it at Walmart, that's probably in the thousands. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Who else hasn't spoken? Sorry, I cannot see everybody. Oh, yeah. Do you have any item to show us? Did you pick any item?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I got a thing of matcha. I got it from Amazon, but it says on the label that it's originally from Japan and specifically from the provinces of, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, sorry, Shizuoka and Kagoshima. And it was packaged in Canada, in Montreal. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. That is actually like, I think that this proves our point that we have a very, very wide network before some kind of food comes to our table. But we have our guests who probably want to say something about it and show us how in their activities, like how they are working with food in their own way, and what type of networks they are supporting and they are like putting together. So I don't know I don't know who wants to go first, Claire or Chris?
Doesn't matter, whatever you like.
Do you wanna go first, and then Chris is in? But I know that also Chris has a number of people who need to leave earlier. I don't know.
Why don't Chris and the folks that he brought speak first, so they'll all speak together? Their relationship is a little different to food than mine, so it would be good to hear all of that at once, and then I'll speak about it from a different perspective.
And then you speak about it from your perspective, and then of course, like, you have to leave also earlier, but I mean, you have to leave at some point, but we have time. So Chris.
Sorry, I'm here.
There he is.
Hey. Did you have a chance to go yet, or?
No.
Thank want to go first to talk a bit about the work and advocacy you're doing first, and then we're going to go to both Dwayne and Alicia, and then maybe I'll do the larger macro, micro at the end.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right. All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us here. Particularly when you talk about all different food, where it comes from, how we connect with those food. I think it's really, really important in our work as well. We, as a community organization and community group, I'm community organizer at Industrial Accident Victim Group of Ontario, which is part of Community Legal Clinic, non-profit organization funded by the Legal Aid Ontario. Our organization work with the injured workers community, especially specifically we work with the injured workers group called Injured Worker Action for Justice. So I want to talk a little bit about the organization, and I will come back to the connection with the food that we are involved actually, right? So our organization is pretty much community organization that actually created and founded by a committee, the community workers, especially in 1975. A group of Italian immigrant worker actually found our organization. So our organization is pretty much belong to the community, right? And strong roots in the community, because that's how we create it, right? And our work pretty much, work with the injured worker, right? Injured worker organization, injured workers community, injured workers groups that, relate to those work injury. Also the workers' compensation system, which is, the protections and benefit for injured worker, right? Part of the workers' compensation. But I want to talk a little bit more about our work and how we work with the injured worker community particularly, right? So our organization, IAV, is called short IAVIGO. When we actually start working with injured worker in the community, pretty much because we found that injured worker, they do a lot of working with among the injured worker, right? Outreach and mobilizations and also public education. So since we have some legal staff, case workers, lawyers, paralegals, and things like that, so we are doing more casework, especially workers' compensation, like a WSIB, Workplace Safety Insurance Board, which is a part of the Canadian, like Ontario, government agency to help injured worker and process the case for work injury and things like that, right? So we do a lot of case work, but at the same time we do a lot of organizing work, like direct actions and campaign, working with the different partner like Chris, Justice for Migrant Workers and other community groups and organizations that they understand our work and support and work together and things like that. So I mean, the casework is important, right? Because really that really help individual workers their case with work injury. But the community organizing really important in terms of, it doesn't matter how many cases you're gonna take, but at the end, if the system doesn't change, then you will keep getting those cases, right? The worker will come to our organization for their individual case. So we do a lot of law reform and organizing, and particularly with the injured workers group, like Injured Worker Action for Justice, right? So this is the community group that we work a lot. We work together, right? Because when you have a casework, we want to make sure that we create the space. We put the resource that the community member, like injured worker, actually have a space to come and talk and see what they want to do as injured workers community groups and things like that. So we are providing a space and a platform for the injured worker to have a monthly meetings and talk about the issue and also we provide a lot of resources like trainings or workshops and conference to know more about what's going on in broad perspective. And then when people want to do something about it, right, like we do a lot of action, direct action, the rally demonstration. We do a lot of lobbyings and involved with politicians, right, in terms of the policy making process and things like that. So we do a lot of those things and also make sure that we build the relationship, we build our capacities and momentum. So we do a lot of have a social events and things like that, right? So that's what we as a community organization here to support the injured workers community and group to organize a get together and things like that. So that's pretty much what we do. But one of the important, going back to the how we connect to the food. So our group start organizing since 2010. It started with a little small group, right, injured worker, but now it's been over 13 years, right? So now we have a different other group under the umbrella of Injured Worker Expert Justice Group. We have a Chinese injured workers group. We have a Spanish-speaking injured workers group. Now we have an injured migrant farm workers group on top of the general group that we've been organizing over 13 years, right? So important thing about how injured worker relate to the food. So our Chinese group worker, right, they've been working a lot in the retail, like grocery markets, in different communities, especially Chinese group in Chinese, those grocery market, TNT, supermarkets, and things like that. Also, if you look at our Indian migrant farm workers group, and I'm happy that Chris and Alicia doing here talk more about how they relate to the food, especially in Canadian food chain, right? So we've been working with those migrant farm workers to see how we can support and provide the resource and the space to come and talk about the issue and organize, right? As their the challenge they face and all those things in the food chains and things like that. So I mean, you probably hear more from Dwayne Alicia about their experience as a migrant farm worker in Ontario in Canada and what specific challenges they face and things like that, and how we as a community group work together and we have a lot of small victory, but we recently have a big victory around the systematic change at the workers' compensation tribunal. So that's another huge achievement, that when we work with the legal system and the organizing together, it's really things you can actually see the change in the system and things like that. So I mean, if you have any other question, I'm happy to answer, but I pass to Alicia, Dwayne, and Chris to talk more about specific their experience with the injured workers group and our clinic at Ayavigo and things like that.
That is actually very very useful. I think you really fleshed out how extensive the connections are and how diverse the networks are. Yeah. So I don't know who's going next. I think Chris is coordinating, but
sorry about that. Sometimes it's hard to press the unmute button. Alicia or Dwayne, I'll leave it up to one of you, whoever wants to go next.
Hey, sorry, in a moving video. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Hi, again, my name is I am from a migrant worker. I've injured my eye.
We lost her.
No.
We are losing you, Alicia.
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing better?
You're going in and out, so. Now I can't hear you.
Sorry, are you hearing me now?
Yes. Now I am hearing you better. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. As I was saying, I'm in a moving vehicle, so sorry about that. Perhaps that's why it's breaking in and out.
Mhm.
You're hearing me clearly now, right?
Yes, much better now. Yeah.
Oh dear.
No, now we
Hello?
hear you well, right? Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Oh, we lost her again.
Oh no.
Well,
Are you hearing me?
Alicia, how about this? When you're at a more stable place, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
We'll have Dwayne go next.
Yeah, let's see if he's able to come in.
Pleasant good afternoon to each and everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Hi, Dwayne.
It's great to be in the space, to share this space and opportunity with you to share my experience. I'm a former migrant worker who got injured here while working. It's amazing you guys pick up talking about food, because all the food that you picked up, none of them said they were produced in Canada. They were harvested in Canada. So there's a big industry that's run here, the agricultural program, which I don't think many of you know of it. So people from the Caribbean will come over and they will work. But the problem with this program, it's a program that it's tied you to your employer, and the employer literally owned you. You have to do an extreme medical before you come here. You have to be like borrow Alicia term, aisle machine to come to Canada. If you even have high blood pressure, they will not accept you. So you have to become fit and ready to work. And when you arrive at your location where you are going to work, that's where you live and you stay. And that's one of the things that land us in this precarious position, because you have no basic human rights. You have been denied. You have been exempt. You have been tied to your employer. So the food that you eat here in Canada, we are the one who plant it, harvest it. I was one of them that came here very early. I only get to spend Christmas with my family. I leave my home from the 2nd of January 2018 to start the process to come here, the flight process to come here after I finish my medical. So I work on the farm like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I signed a contract, which when I reached to Canada, I recognized that the employer draft up our own contract for me to sign. So I planted those food, and I harvested, of course. So you're overworked, you're underpaid, and whenever you got damage on the job, your boss is allowed to dispose you like garbage. I was one of those persons. I got more than one injury and refused medical the first one. Then the other one was more critical because it was a head injury. And she could just discard me, ask them to throw me out and left me to die. So it is an exploitation and labor. So there's an exploitation on labor in Canada that's run deep underground with our system that designed from the 1966, somewhere there. So it's a dirty, difficult, and dangerous job. No Canadians want to do this job. So that is why we are in high demand for this job. But we're not recognized as a person, we are only recognized as a number. So as long as our hands are working, we're good to go. But whenever you got damage, that's where all hell break loose. Because you recognize that you're paying into a system here in Canada, which you have no access to. Have no access to EI, you have no access to healthcare, you has been denied and exempt from the system that you were paying into. Not only that, they took away your status and tell you that now you have become a visitor. So for me, the food that you're eating, it's people blood, sweat, and tears. Every year, about 3 migrant workers died. That's an average of 3. Some year it is more, but we just put it at an average of 3 died on the farm each year. Because our housing condition, deplorable condition, living condition, which you have to pay to live into, the lazy service that they put in place for us to assist us, take the boss's side, and nothing. So there's nothing for us, nothing. But we're asking whosoever has a ears to hear when we tell our story of the injustice that we face here. Is it justice? Is it equal? Is it equality for all? Is it just? Is it fair? Or is it inhumane? So this is one of the things that we face because we are tied to our employer, so we don't have status. So status, if we get status on arrival here, then we would have access to better health care. We could access health care easy. Our boss wouldn't own us and can put us on a flight before day the next morning when we're injured and we're landing back in Jamaica or wherever in the Caribbean you're from. Going back to your family broken, going to back to your family bedridden, going back to them losing limbs. And it's just like a horror movie. So it is one of those systematic problem that exists here in Canada, and it's run deep, deep, deep underground. But every time you raise a question, they don't play it, they deny it. No, it does not exist. It doesn't happen here in Canada. Racism is very active here in Canada as well. Because the way your employer treats you is racist, they're abusive, and the list goes on. So we harvest your food, but we get no good treatment. We plant your food.
I think Dwayne got,
Yeah,
he
Dwayne, I
got,
think back on mute.
he's back on mute. I don't know if it's, yeah, now we can, yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm using my phone and it was ringing, so I got cut off. I
It
think
does that.
Alicia can pick up from that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You were very clear though. Like I think everybody understood very well your point. So you didn't cut you weren't cut off like only a few seconds. So
Chris, I
let's
hand over
see.
back to you.
Awesome.
Chris,
Thanks, Roberta.
now you are muted, Chris.
Alicia. Yes. How many academics do they need to do a Zoom call properly, eh? Alicia, are you in a better space now?
Yes, within 2 minutes I'll be in a better space.
Okay, we hear you already much better than before.
You're hearing me better? Yes. Yeah, so just to add to what Dwayne was saying, I am really happy that, your new student has, first, thank you for inviting us to just share with your class. And we really do greatly appreciate it. Yes, when it comes on to all the foods, fruits, whatever, you partake of, what is behind it, is what people do not know. The fruits are beautiful. The food, whatever it is that you get in the supermarket, wherever you get it from, they're all beautiful. They're all looking so nice and plush and, all of that. But the reality has never really been exposed. I mean, we have been trying as Justicia and Injured Workers Action for Justice. We have been trying as a group to expose all of the situation that has been taking place. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Are you hearing me better now? Are you hearing me? On.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry,
Okay,
I was on
okay.
mute right now.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so the reality is really what Dwayne is saying. We come here and even in the COVID, we are deemed as essential workers, but we are getting none of the benefits that we pay into. All of those foods that you see in every area. As we say, we have Chinese, we have Spanish speaking, we have people from different areas, thousands of people every year coming to Canada to work, and also not only to work, but paying all of the taxes, just like a Canadian citizen. But when it comes down to it, we really get none of the benefits. We're exempt. We are barred from common health care, from going to the hospital. As for me, I have multiple injuries. I was injured on the job. I was sent to do a job that I wasn't trained for. And that is what they do. They tell you what they want you to do, not what you come to do. You sign a contract to come and work in a specific area, but when you come, then you're told to do different things that you're not trained for. They're not training you for it. They just need to go and do it. So I was injured. I have multiple. I'm still nursing my injury. But what happened is that when we also get injured as migrant workers, because we're tied to the employer, we can't go to the hospital by ourselves. If they don't allow us, we can't go. We come from a different country, so we don't even have local numbers to reach out to. Going to the hospital, the employer know the doctor, they all know each other, and you can only go to the doctor that they take you to, which is their friend. And that, you know, is one of the things that I have to deal with, where when workers gets, well, we don't know all right. That's the truth. We come here, we start working, we don't have the information. That is what Justicia and Injured Workers Action for the Justice is doing, trying to make aware all of those things that are going on that has been hidden beneath the surface. We don't normally get a seat at the table, and that's why we're always grateful and happy to just share, to let you know that it is not just one person or two person that is going through these things, but as Dwayne said, it's a systemic problem. It's a program that has been set up to block you from having any access in the country, even though you work most of the year here. You work like 8 months, 10 months, depends on, the time you come here. You work all of that time. And as Dwayne said, up to 18 hours. But at the end of the day, you really don't have any access to anything when you're injured. We learned that when we got injured. We didn't know that before. When we got injured, we learned that. And we learn about justice for migrant worker, injured workers action for justice, which if it wasn't so, I don't know what would have happened to me for sure, because I had no idea, I had no clue where to turn, what to do. And just learning of the amount of people that is being injured every day, in the same way, in the same situation, from just trying to get some fruits on somebody's table, you know. And I really believe that if we get the word out and people do know, and even the students here, that are coming into that kind of setting, you know, it's not just a migrant situation, it's a every worker situation. So whether you're Canadian, wherever you're from, with an injury to one is an injury to all. And when we get injured, we need help to navigate, because the truth is that when we're not injured, we don't go looking for what we need to do when we're injured, right? We don't look for it. So until we get injured, then we're thinking, where do I go? How do I get this information? We are here to say, okay, this is where you can call. You can call Justice, you can call Justice for Migrant Worker, you can call AFCO, and you will get that information that you need to help you to navigate the legal system, the WSIB. I mean, that is a whole nother thing where, it can be very traumatizing for someone that is already injured, and to try to deal with that on their own, not having any understanding of, the system and how, to go about doing anything. Um, it really helps to know, about the groups that are pushing forward in these things, and know that, you have a safe place that you can communicate. And when you come in this space, you know that there's a lot of other people that surely do understand what it is that you're going through, because they have been facing the same thing. Some are fighting it for 13, 14, you know, years, decades. Some are fighting it for, and the situation is still the same. The thing is that for us as migrant workers, it's kind of a little more difficult because we have no access to having to things here because of the status that we come in. We come as a worker. But when we get injured, we are, as Dwayne says, we are turned into visitors. So we have no access to anything. But just know that anytime you see someone that is injured on the job, anytime you hear about someone, it might be a friend, just where to reach out. Injured Workers Action for Justice, Justice for Migrant Worker, I have called, for legal advice and just to navigate the system. We are all working together for the greater good, for everyone, all workers, that has been abused by this system and the oppressiveness of the system, the way, they try to break and segregate and try to make it seem as if, some people are more than some, which, you know, it's not right. It's not right. So I just thank you guys today for just allowing us to come and share with you our struggles. And yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Um, we have our monthly meetings that, if you want to come and just hear what we're going on with, then you can reach out and, get the information and just, we normally post anything that we're doing on the different medias. So you can just type in any one of them into the Workers Action for Justice, Justice for Migrant Worker, or IFCO, and you can get all of that posted when we're about to do anything, any marks, anyone, all is needed because together we can get more done. Together we can get more done. One, you can hear me, but when it's a lot of us, you can hear even louder. And just sharing with others the situation and what we are asking for is status on arrival for migrant workers so that they can have access to healthcare and all of the things that they need when they come in the country instead of having to be struggling with employer that they're tied to. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Oh, I was about to write down the. Yeah, thank you, Chris, for posting the link. I was about to post the link myself, so thank you so much, Alicia. Chris, do you wanna I guess you want to add something and bring everything together?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick, under 5 to 6 minutes. So a couple of things. I just sent you all our link tree for Justice for Migrant Workers, which also has some links for the Injured Workers Action for Justice. Y'all could check out, we have some parody grocery flyers that was done by a OCAD grad, Damon Kutu.
I have them.
Yeah, so y'all
I
can
have
check
them.
Yeah.
Do you want me to pull them out? Because I scanned them.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me. While you're talking, I'm gonna pull them out of the cell phone, and then I'm gonna put them up so people can actually check them out.
So, when I was meeting Claire, she asked, "What do we do? What does Justice for Migrant Workers do, and what do I do?" And it's kind of a hard question to answer. So I've been at this now for about 22 years. I was basically an undergrad student, I guess, under my second time around at the school, when we started Justice for Justicia for Migrant Workers. And the clear answer I guess I could really give is what we do is we try to chip away at the injustices of the structure of the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, or the Seasonal Agricultural Worker Program in this particular case. We bring people together. We go to where workers are at. We try to build long-term trust and relationships. We find particular spaces where workers can come together. We develop ways of trying to think about non-legal and legal ways to chip away at this enormous structure of injustice. And what this structure of injustice is, we've got to go back to this history of immigration and to understand the difference that agricultural workers from the Caribbean first, and then workers from Mexico and then other places from the global South rather, were treated very differently than Dutch, Polish, and English farm workers who didn't have any immigration restrictions when they came here to Canada. They were also seen as skilled labor. It's only the 60s we saw a transition. So previously, we had two groups of people who would form our agricultural system. We can call them free and unfree. Free are the English, the Dutch, the Polish people that came. The English came at the turn of the last century. The Dutch and the Polish communities came after World War II. Also, intermittently, we also had other forms of unfree labor. We had child labor from England. We had Japanese and German prisoners of war all over Ontario. We had indigenous communities, say from Six Nations. At one point, actually, we used to bring in Black women, African American women from Detroit over to Windsor, Essex to do canning. So there's also been on one side a very kind of free mobile community, but also different forms of communities that are immobile. And what we saw with the arrival of Caribbean workers in 1966 was a very different way of looking at a migration scheme, where workers were tied to an employer. And what tied to an employer means, in addition to the power imbalance that exists between workers and employer, is that workers cannot go to work for another farm without the permission from both employers. In effect, it's a captive labor force. And the example I give, so for all you peeps at York, if you're working at one coffee shop, for example, and you decide on your own to go work another, if you're in the countryside, you would be literally picked up, arrested, put in a jail, brought to 385 Rexdale, and then deported, right? Because even it's not a crime, it's an administrative infraction such as a parking ticket. But the fact that you're working without proper authorization, the Canadian state throws the book at you. Okay, so workers are tied to employer. They must return at the end of the season. There is no access to permanent residency. The fact that people are tied on a work permit also means there's different forms of inequalities around accessing social entitlements. So we talked a bit about workers' compensation. We talked a bit about healthcare. Healthcare, for example, you're tied to a work permit. Employment insurance, workers, when they return back home, even though they're unemployed, they can't access it. And very much race and racialization plays the differential role of how migrant farm workers are from the Caribbean, Mexico, and now it's Global South are treated differently than say, white workers like they came. And very much you saw the racial logics with the emergence of the program where people were terrified. And you see these tropes in Canadian immigration over the last 100, 120 years. They didn't want Black workers to be settling as permanent residents. They were concerned about intermarriages happening. They were concerned about racial strife. And they didn't want a foreign population having access to our social entitlement system. In addition to this, there is also the structures, the pillars of a mechanism of control. So there's something that I told you about the tied work permits. You have to return home. There's a naming process, particularly for Mexican workers, that 80% of workers are named. If you're not named, you might have a chance to come on the program, but very strongly, you're competing with 20% of the other workers, so probably not going to come. If you are found to be doing anything, going to the bathroom when you're not supposed to, falling in love, trying to exert your rights in the workplace, you could be disbarred, right? Which means you would not be able to come back. And we've had many workers who are injured, for instance, who are under that predicament, even when we win cases for them too. So very much it's a power imbalance, but it's not only about federal laws. Provincially, agricultural workers in general are excluded from many protections under the Employment Standards Act. There are no no occupational health and safety specific regulations. And we've touched very briefly about WSIB, which we could talk later about. In effect, for many of us, we look at history, right? And the emergence of slavery, of indentured labor programs, and how Canada has constructed our temporary foreign worker programs. Now, a lot of times people are like, well, are all farms bad? And we're like, no, right? This is not about good and bad employers. This is about addressing the structure of the program. And this is why we've developed this rallying cry about status on arrival. It's about trying to reframe, address the multiple forms of immigration restrictions that have happened, name history and power as the reasons why we've created these programs today, where at one point in Canadian history, we had more people coming up as temporary foreign workers or guest workers, rather than people becoming permanent residents, and trying to address this power imbalance that exists between workers and employers. When you hear people speaking like Alicia and Dwayne, I don't want you all to be sad. I want you to be affected. I want you to be angry. I don't want you to do something about this, right? It's not that we can't do something to make things better. And it comes about showing support and solidarity for workers when they're trying to engage in these multiple cases and the multiple organizing strategies that we're doing. So what do we mean about legal cases and organizing very quickly? So as Sang-Hun has mentioned, we could do 100 million cases. We could do cases up the wazoo, but it's not going to address these systemic problems that we're seeing. So, recently we won a case against the police around the racial profiling of a group of 50 migrant farm workers. And this was done to look at the systemic ways that Black workers in rural Ontario are being treated. Sang-Hun could talk in the Q&A period about this thing about when they cut off benefits when workers are returned to their home country, which was a very different way. It was a discriminatory way that injured migrant workers are treated, very different than other Canadian workers, for example. So it's about trying to bring people together to shift power and to address these systemic barriers, not just simply finding individual cases that are not going to lead to anywhere. So to conclude, history repeats itself for how these programs exist. When my family came to the Caribbean, they came as indentured workers on a plantation, and we're very much seeing something similar today in our fields and fruits production here in Ontario. And it's about us collectively coming together to fight for change. This is when things get better. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Actually, this is kind of embarrassing because I thought that I had scanned those documents, but I did not. I mean, I did, but I didn't save them on my phone, I guess, because I did it very fast. So for you guys, so on Thursday we had an event, and I actually received those files with those well, we can call them like kind of spoof advertisements, where basically like they're like pretend special offer, like those things that you find in the grocery stores, except that they actually reveal a bunch of injustices and a bunch of like power relations that occur in the food system. And I promise that I will post them. I don't know if you have them, Chris.
Yeah,
Do you have them on the file, or?
If you go to the link tree, if you click on the link tree.
Oh, the link tree, you can see them. Okay,
third,
perfect.
Fourth, and fifth are the flyers. The third and fourth and fifth links.
Okay, so you can go and check them out. Oh, it's actually not working, the link tree. So let me just go into, because there's also this like so J-W. Okay, I'm pulling them out because the link doesn't really work. You said the flyers. There you go. Found. Okay, I'm going to share them with you just very briefly, and then we have to go ahead because Claire actually have to go and cook for a bunch of people later on. So we have to finish soon. So let me just share the screen for a second and show you those. So these are the oops, sorry. Okay. So I will also share them with you later on. They're actually quite interesting. You see, like no worries. 2/3 of the world's farmland is owned by 1% of farmers. Whose family do you see on the farm? Migrant workers, approximately 70,000 in 2023. Migrant workers will come to Canada to, sorry, I went backward. Approximately 70,000 migrant workers will come to Canada to work in Ontario farms. And those are all facts that are placed in a more playful way, and they look like an advertisement, but it's not. It's actually giving you different facts about the situation here in Ontario. So there's various, and I can definitely share more because there were 3 of them circulating last week. So. Okay. All right. So I think I want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Claire, who actually has a different experience to these food system and food networks, and then we put everything together. So Claire, do you wanna go ahead?
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Claire Tallarico. I am a visual artist. I am a trained working chef, and I am also a communications and policy advisor, primarily in the health sector. My work and the project that I'm going to speak to you very briefly about does tie all of those things together in sort of an interesting, personal and professional trajectory. I'm very fascinated by the things that you all brought, and I will talk a little bit about the idea of cooking and sharing food that that comes from different places, but primarily from Ontario, and what that means. My experience and what I'm here to talk about is very, very different from what the others have shared. I work on a project in rural Ontario in a place called Prince Edward County, which is about 2 hours east of Toronto. It's on the shores of Lake Ontario. It was once the canning capital of Canada, and more tomatoes were grown there than currently are grown in Leamington, which I believe is now the tomato capital of Canada. It was primarily a very strong agricultural community, farming community, and in the last 40 years, it has become Canada's fastest growing wine growing region. And the work that I do out there has to do with the fact that primarily I went there 7 years ago to work on a project, an artist residency, where artists came to explore the synergy between their art practice, no matter what it was, whether it was visual arts, sculpture, film, painting, whatever it was, and a kitchen practice, what happens in a kitchen. We could have a whole separate conversation about the similarities between studio and kitchen practices, but that project with artists coming and cooking for each other and sharing food and sharing the experience of being in that rural community led to, at the onset of COVID, when we could no longer gather or be together sharing food in this beautiful place, that led to us as artists thinking about COVID, led to us to think, what could we do so that we could somehow support the people who were making all this beautiful food and wine that we had been enjoying for years. And so what we ended up doing was being funded by local charities, being given a small, but what I call a small but mighty kitchen in a vineyard. And we ended up cooking for seasonal agricultural workers. The workers who come to Prince Edward County have a different experience for the most part. It's not a panacea, but a very different experience than the experience that Alicia and Dwayne have shared their experience. There are probably less than 125 workers throughout the county, which has a population of about 27,000 people. So the most amount of people on one farm or vineyard, the most amount you would have is 10. The average is 4 to 6. Those people have very strong relationships. They come under a slightly different kind of visa, is my understanding, and a slightly different set of terms and conditions. They have long standing histories with farmers and owners of the farms and the wineries that they come to work for. And we were very concerned about the fact that their social life, their social community during COVID, they were extremely isolated, because at the end of the day, they were usually having dinner together, socializing together, and all of that went away during COVID. So we decided that we would see if we could find a way to show respect for the work that they did, the work that they do. We wanted to show respect, and we wanted to acknowledge that it was an even more difficult harvest season in 2020 than other years. because that community feeling, those social networks went away. And so what we did was we very quickly were able to raise the money to offer to farms and vineyards, to the workers on those farms and vineyards, dinner twice a week at no cost to anyone. The reason that the local community, local charities funded us was because, and this is another network, we said that the money that we would pay for the food with would stay in the local economy, because we would buy local fruit, local vegetables, local fish, local protein, local meat. And we set out to feed people extremely well and feed them with the same food that anybody they worked for would put on their table. And we were able to do that quite successfully. We fed 40 workers the first year twice a week. So we made about 1,600 meals that harvest season. And if you fast forward to 2023, where the harvest season has just ended, we have made 3,000 meals over the last 4 harvest seasons. The first 2 years, people could not gather. It was for their own health. So we cooked those meals in our small kitchen that we were given, 1 or 2 people at a time, because the artists weren't all coming at the same time. And we packaged the meals individually, so as if you were getting a nice takeout meal, with the menu in English and Spanish, and a short, very, very short explanation if something had come from down the road from them, or a farmer that they knew, so they knew exactly where their food was coming from. We did that for 2 years, and then at the end of our second year of cooking, we had our first in-person dinner. And then for the last 2 years, the community has given us a community hall. And the workers who come to these dinners, it's now once a week, and it's in person. So they actually come and all sit down at a table together. They know who we are, we know who they are. It's become more personal. There's a bit of a language barrier because we speak French, we speak Italian, we speak English. We don't speak a lot of Spanish. We've learned some kitchen Spanish, but food has become our language. And sometimes we cook together. It's been a very different journey. We had no idea what would happen when we did this. And I wish I could tell you that these things could be replicated in other places. But I don't know if that's true or not. I know that practically I could tell people how to replicate it, but I also know that it depends on willingness and relationships, and that it's not just about the transaction of handing somebody food, but really thinking about how to do it in a way that is respectful and has some social engagement to it. It has helped the community be a little bit stronger together. And I'm happy to show you some really quick slides if you'd like to see them, or answer any questions. And talk about,
yes,
if we have time, I'd love to talk about why do artists want to feed migrant workers, but maybe the pictures will help tell that story.
I think the pictures will tell some story, but you can also elaborate. Yeah, because I find this very interesting, and I really wish this activity was expanded to many other places where people are growing our food. Right?
So the one thing that I will say is the relationship extends beyond the kitchen, and from the point of view of artists in the community, those artists who come, and we're a very small group, the artists who come actually are paired with a farm or a vineyard when they come, and they make their artwork that is site specific, very site specific. And so not only are workers seeing them in the kitchen, but they're also seeing them in the field and on the land. And all of the work that we do, whether it's the dinner, the suppers, or it is artists coming to the residency and helping in the kitchen, which is one of the reasons they come to the residency, and that's our quid pro quo. It is to honor land and labor. So that is why, you know, in the smallest phrase I can think of, that is why we do what we do, because we are honoring land and labor. So should we look at a couple of really quick slides?
Yes,
I
I have
put
them
in the chat.
I can also share the screen because I have them on let me see if I have, I have them on here.
Okay,
The
sure.
one that you share.
Yep, this is great. So these are just a couple of slides from 2020. These are some workers, and they had to come with their masks, leaving the kitchen after picking up dinner, and everything was individually packaged. And as you know, when you got dinner, it had your name on it. We were very conscious if someone couldn't eat something, or we were very careful to make things that would work for everyone, not just, yeah, wasn't it just a random idea. So we thought a lot about what we were cooking and where it was coming from. Oh, can you just keep flipping the slides? I realized I can't do it. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
sorry,
this,
like it is, oh,
yeah.
here?
This was this building is the, and this picture is the picture that actually started our thinking about the fact that we wanted to cook for these workers. So this is a vineyard. This is an old, one of the older vineyards in the county. And we were talking to the winemaker, who's the person on the left. And we asked him, what was that building in the middle of the vineyard? And it's an old church. And we didn't understand. You can tell if you really look at it that it's a church. We didn't really understand why there was a church in the middle of the vineyard. And he said, well, it's a decommissioned church that our owners bought several years ago and had moved here and renovated. And it is the building where our workers live. Again, very different from what Alicia and Dwayne and Chris are talking about, because this is a farm that has 8 workers, and that is where their workers live. So that really got us thinking about who were these people that we hadn't been there that long. We'd only been there about 2 years. We hadn't really thought about the things that we learned, how skilled you have to be to take care of those vines, and how hard that work is. It's backbreaking hard work. It is not a romantic notion. So we can.
I'm gonna just flip. This is the
our
kitchen.
tiny kitchen. And it looks very pretty, but it was not. It's not an easy kitchen to work in to make 40 meals really quickly.
Oh, here, these are the individual meals, right?
These are individual meals. Yep, that this was a room this was the dining room off of the kitchen. And this is where we would assemble the meals before people came to pick them up, before we did our in-person dinners. And then you can see there's the menu in English and Spanish, someone's name on it. We're not food photographers. We may be artists, but we're definitely not food photographers.
Looks good though. And these are people making
This was
food.
making frittata from eggs from a farm up the road. And that night dinner was, we had a bread maker. And if you look at those bags, that was an artist who decided that everybody should have a bag that would have an original sketch on it. So when he finished cooking during the day, he would he would make, that was his take on the bread. He would make bags that would help tell the story of what was in the bag for everybody.
Amazing. And these are more bags. I like the idea of the brown bags.
Yeah, brown bag dinner. This is one of the workers who we've gotten to know very well over the years when he is not in Canada working. And he's only here 7 months of the, well, only. He is away from his family 7 months of the year, but he is a baker in Mexico. So he would often ask if we would like to have him bake dessert. So this is him delivering dessert one night. Couple getting ready to get the food out the door because we had volunteers delivering food if the wineries could not pick it up themselves. Sometimes the guys would come and get it, but again, masked and just ready to, just a quick pickup. It wasn't very social in those days.
This is more social.
This is a little more social because they were all living together. They could socialize together and they would send those pictures to us so that we would know that it was a good dinner.
Oh, wow. And this one.
Yeah, those are all, I think, the pictures that I have to share for today.
Thank you. I think that this gives a very good idea of the type of atmosphere and the type
and
of
very different,
relationships.
very different.
Yeah.
People come under a different system. It's a different kind of relationship when it's that small. I know it's not perfect, but I can only tell you that that is the experience that we have had.
So thank you so much. I would like to spend the last like 10 minutes or so before Claire goes, because I realized that, yeah, we spent quite a bit of time doing some presentations. But I would like to spend the time that we have left to ask, to open the floor and ask if the students have any question, or if there is a response from Chris, for instance, if he wants to say something, or if you want to chat among each other a little bit, because I find that like putting together these two very different experiences and talking with those very farm workers who actually were involved in cultivating the land for us is actually quite important. So I don't know if anybody wants to say anything to this respect.
Sorry,
Simon? Yeah.
Yeah, because I have another actually meeting that I have to attend, so I actually had to go. And I know Alicia be part of that another presentation. So Alicia and me actually have to leave, but we might have just 1 or 2 minutes if anyone has question about anything about our organization and things like that.
Yes, I was just wondering, do you guys accept volunteers?
We do. And we actually have a few volunteers from University of Toronto helping our group organizing, our monthly meetings, or when we have some in-person events and things like that. So if you are interested, just contact me. I can put my email in the chat box, so you can definitely email me or call me, so we can talk about it, right?
I can also put George in touch with you because I have your email. now I have it, so I can stalk you.
Okay, so yeah, I put my email there. Okay,
Thank
also
you.
not mine, just our group social media contact information, phone number, the message and things like that. So I will put my number there as well. Okay, so yeah, feel free to reach out to me and if you have anything, so we can talk about it. But again, thank you so much for inviting us to talk
Thank
about
you.
and hopefully we can see you again sometime, right?
You bet. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you for coming.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you guys for having us. Thank you so much. And thank you, Claire, for just making someone's life a little bit more beautiful, making it a little bit easier. We're grateful for that because you know, it's not the norm. That's the
No, I
truth. It's
know.
not the norm. It's not. But we are grateful for whenever someone would see, you know, what is happening and try to you know, make an effort to help. And we're inviting you all to just, you know, rally with us, whatever it is that is going on, you know, whether we are having some rally somewhere or some get together for whatever reason, for, you know, letting your MPs, whoever, you know, we all know someone, we all have people in our circle, talk about it, you know, and you know, let people know what is really happening. And so also, you know, ask them to help to make that change that we're looking for. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if there's anything that anyone would like to ask before I go.
Does anybody have any question?
Not a question, but just wanted to say good luck at your next meeting.
Thank you so much. All right, have a good one.
Thank you so
Everyone,
much,
thank you all.
Alicia. Bye. Okay, so we have like 3 minutes and then to go. So I don't know, Claire and Chris, do you wanna do like make some last remarks to like, yeah.
I'm happy to take any questions. I think I've
And
pretty much said it. I think if I have an ending that's a little bit different, it's to say that one of the things that we take a lot of heart with is that as we've gone from 2 meals to 1 for various reasons, one of the things that we've seen is that the wineries and the workers themselves have made ways to keep the collaboration or keep the community aspect of this quite alive. And towards the end of this year, the wineries themselves hosted and made dinners for people in person to gather. And I think that is very much a good proof point that people saw the value in it.
yeah. Do you think that, so this is my question, I don't know if my students have other questions, but I have a burning question. So do you think that this type of activity, so this type of relationship can also be like transferred into other situations? I mean, I understand that you, Claire, work in a small environment, and Chris work in a very much bigger enterprise. But I'm wondering if like this can actually be translated into other contexts and use this as a way to empower the workers, also as a way to help them to reconnect with us type of community, like to make them feel a little bit more at home, and or to use this as a way to have to advocate for them. So incorporate some activism into just the food making. So more than community. Basically.
Yeah, so we have been approached by a group called, and this might, Chris, be a group that you know, called the Neighborhood Network, which is also an advocacy group for seasonal agricultural workers, migrant workers. And they have asked us to help them, and they've invited us to come to different events. They have been very curious about how we've used food as a community building engagement exercise. And one of the things that we have talked to them about the fact is having a one-off, having one dinner or one event and thinking that you've done something is not, in my experience, not what works. You have to do it over and over and over again to see the difference. You couldn't have told me 4 harvest seasons ago that wineries would step up to help finance this, because we didn't ask them for money those first 2 years. This year we did. We've asked them to support us in a different financially, but they've also supported it from a program point of view. And it's not just that these workers come to dinner and somebody checks off a box somewhere. We will often have a dinner where we ask winemakers or vineyard managers or farmers to come to join the dinner. And that's really important. When the artists did a pop-up gallery night this year, some of the workers came. That would have never happened 4 years ago. It's because we're not doing these one-offs that, again, reinforce that romantic notion. This is hard. They do hard work, and it's also hard work to bring a community together. So can it be replicated? Yes, but it's about the relationship, not a transaction.
Yeah, of course, it needs to be a long-term relationship.
It's a long-term relationship. Yeah, and we've been in that community now in various ways for almost. This was our seventh year, and we're not there for 2 weeks anymore. We're there for 5.
No. Yeah. So yeah, no, this is something that I took for granted, but yeah, I was thinking about long-term relationships because you have to gain people's trust, and yeah, like you basically build like a relationship and it's ongoing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Does Chris, do you have your last some last few words before we all break?
No, I'd open up. I want to hear from some of the students to hear if anybody else has any comment.
Okay, do you have any comment, guys? Did you fall asleep? I don't see.
I hope not.
No, they did not. Hello.
I'm going to sign off because I'm out here to.
You got to go. I
do
wish I could join you.
Yeah, I
you
wish
know,
you
like
could
I'm
join us too.
like 5 kilometers. Like I could almost see you if there were no skyscrapers, but.
Well, we'll have a side conversation about getting you out here. That would be really nice. But thank you so much. And if other questions come up, please reach out. I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. That was very generous, and I'm pretty sure that this was a big learning lesson from my students. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, any comments from people? No comments. Chris, we gave them like the last. We killed the student.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Sorry, this will go off the records. Anyway, no, we have some comments. It was a very informative and eye-opening session. Well, this is what I was hoping for. Actually, like we were talking about this on Thursday when I met some of the people who were here, and yeah, like I think it's not just the students who don't know what is going on behind these networks, but the general population. I mean, when during COVID we started hearing about how farmers workers were infecting each other and they were in danger and they were dying and etc. we thought that it was like just an exception, but it was not. It had always been like this. But it's because of the system, as you heard from Dwayne and Alicia. It's a systemic issue, and so from what I understand, some of the workers who are coming to work in Prince Edward County, where Claire resides, are coming under a different type of visa, exactly because of that. Because you're
if they are coming on the SOP program or even the Ag Stream program, the conditions are very same. And one of the things you have to remember is that all workers pay into employment insurance. All of you pay into EI when you work. Hopefully when you're here, you're going to be able to get it. But because, systemically these workers go back to their home country, they can't get access to that. Or the injuries that these workers, that Alicia and Dwayne talked about today, it doesn't matter if you're in a small farm or a big farm. Once you face an injury, this is the type of experience that you're going to have, right? So the experiences that people are talking about, it's all across. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think also, the reason why people don't hear about this is we put a lot of money in constructing the image we want to see of our food system, right? So it's called the farm imaginary. And basically what it is that you create what you think the industry is, and then you spend lots of ways to erase, the voices, racialized workers, the history, the notions of structural violence, and the legislative exclusions. All that's taken away from the story, and this is why none of us know about this issue.
Yeah, and a lot of issues are not heard, actually. Like a lot of the stuff is like very much built into our assumptions that we have of Canada. We always make ourselves separated from the States. Oh, look, in the States, this and this happens. It doesn't happen here in Canada. Slavery didn't exist in Canada. This kind of like false assumptions that are made is when Canada places itself in a comparison with other situations, and the assumption is it doesn't happen here, but it does happen. And often it does happen with the complicity of the system itself that allows this to happen. So comment here, lots of work to do for those in positions of power to make structural changes. Yeah, and there's also a lot of lobby that needs to be done by those people who are doing some activism, like Chris, for instance. Like Chris is my colleague at U of T, but like he's always super busy, always on the phone, right, Chris? It's a lot of work. So,
Chris, can I ask a quick question? I was just wondering, same thing about your organization. Like, how would somebody sign up to volunteer for that if they were interested?
Well, I guess, you've already connected with Sang Hun. A lot of times we do work we do stuff together all the time, right? So if you connect with Sang Hun and the Injured Workers Group, you're going to do stuff with us as well, too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be great to see some people coming in, and but also again, like you can contribute as you want. Like for example, all these like the type of work that Claire is doing. Like clearly, like she's not an activist. Like she's not out there in the field, but the type of relationship that she builds are actually very valuable. They actually really humanize people. And as you've heard from Alicia, like she was very appreciative of the type of work that is being done. So of course, this is a very, very long-term and consistent work. So if you cannot just go in and do like a one-time thing and say, oh, I'm gonna do a dinner for someone and then I'm done. This is something that you build very gradually. But it's also, I mean, I find it very, very valuable because this puts different realities together, and it places the person who's more privileged in the condition of helping and like doing some advocacy and spreading the word, so that this type of power relations are actually known outside of the little circle where they're happening. So, okay. So anybody else has any other question or comment before we let Chris go? All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
Anytime.
This was it was fantastic, actually. I'm very happy to hear this. And I'm also very happy to hear Dwayne, Alicia, and oh my God, his name it escapes me. Sang-Han, sorry, Sang-Han. It was fantastic, and I will thank them on an email. But I think everybody is like super happy here. So,
all right.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I guess the class is over right now because this is 5:42. If you have any question, you guys send me an email, and I will talk to you online. And for those people who want to see me in person, please drop me a line, and we will meet at some point. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See ya. Okay. Bye.
Thank